Good morning, everyone. We're following King Aswapati in his exploration of the planes of existence, and we've reached the kingdoms and godheads of the greater mind, Canto 11. This canto starts with quite a long introductory section in which there's a kind of summary of what these higher levels are and what they are like. Extremely beautiful, evocative section. I would read the last lines of that section on page 264, starting at line 154. In gleaming clarities of amethyst air, the chainless and omnipotent spirit of mind brooded on the blue lotus of the idea, a gold supernal sun of timeless truth poured down the mystery of the eternal ray through a silence quivering with the word of light on an endless ocean of discovery. Far off he saw the joining hemisphere on meditation's mounting edge of trance. Great stairs of thought climbed up to unborn heights, where time's last ridges touch eternity's skies, and nature speaks to the spirit's absolute. These are the highest levels of the greater mind. But first, there comes a stairway, a triple realm of ordered thought came first, a small beginning of immense ascent. And we read the description of this first levels. They resemble somehow perhaps the entrance to a temple where there are carved friezes, symbolic friezes. But these, they look like carved symbolic figures, but when we approach nearer, we see that they are living presences. So there are 3 steps up like that, and then he says, wide the terrains were, those levels served. They lead up to a much larger, wider space. That's where we stopped last week, on the top line of page 266. Page 266. And we read the top line. Now we'll go on from the second line. Yes?
Just that last line.
Yes.
Somehow I don't follow that sentence.
So the whole sentence.
No, just that last line.
Yes, so those levels. He's been speaking about 3 steps upwards. And now he's described something about those 3 initial steps. But now he's saying that they lead us up to much wider terrains, like a huge plateau. And what comes next is what appears when we reach the top step. What are you not understanding? The grammar of that sentence. The terrains, the lands, the countries which are served by these lower levels are very wide and vast.
So these levels are serving the wide terrain?
No. The lower levels, which we've been reading about, which we read about last time, are, yes, they are like steps up, stages leading to much wider terrains, countries, realm. Is it clear now? Sort of?
White like a bear.
Hmm?
It's a bird, white. It works like grammatically like a bird. Like that I can understand. White.
The terrains which are served, which are reached by those layer steps, those terrains are wide, not a verb.
This makes a little
Yeah? Yes?
In Queensland,
Yes?
we have a terrain like that. You climb to a windy mountain, you reach the top, it's called tableland.
Yes, it's like something like that. But here, these tablelands, these wide terrains, are not the end. There are more levels above.
What is Is this the correct understanding if you said, but why the terrains were that those levels serve?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. We would say, but the terrains which could be reached by those 3 levels were wide. Yeah. Okay. So what is there at the top of those 3 levels? Where shall we start today? Patty, please start.
In front of your ascending epiphany, world time's enjoyers, favorites of world-bliss, the masters of things actual, lords of the hours, playmates of youthful nature and child God, creators of matter by hid stress of mind, whose subtle thoughts support unconscious life, guide the fantasy of good events, stood there, a race of young, clean-visioned gods, king children born on wisdom's early plane, taught in her school world-making's display.
Yes, let's look at these beings. They are obviously connected with the world. They are enjoyers of time, of world time, of cosmic time. Favorites of world bliss. They can delight in what they are doing. They are masters of things actual, things as they actually are. Lords of the hours. Playmates of youthful nature and child God. They belong to some early level of development. But what their task is to create matter, creators of matter by hid stress of mind. So this is something, an idea that we are not very familiar with, except from Savitri. We always think that matter is primary, and out of matter evolves life, and out of life evolves mind. But Sri Aurobindo is showing us that if we look at the involutionary process, first comes Satchidananda, and then ideal mind and divine mind and the lower stages of mind, and then the life levels, and only at the very, very base of the world stair there is matter. It's the final product. It's not the starting point. Yes, Don?
This is, as you explained there, but in science matter has even a lower level where matter was created from.
Yes.
I don't want to go into so on there.
Yes.
Big Bang, what else is there to say? What is there? Well, matter doesn't exist at the Big Bang. It starts with. But
so this is obviously a different view from the scientific view that we are accustomed to. This is a different view. It's not happening like that things are created from above down with subtler, more ethereal levels above, becoming more and more and more solid and concrete as we come down. We had the realm of subtle matter. Below that is our world of gross matter. So here he's saying that there are special beings. I think that Mother calls them formateurs. Formateur means shapers. Yeah? These beings are described here, and their task is to use the power of mind in a particular way to make something concrete, substance. Who's? Sorry? Stress. Stress here means pressure. So from behind the veil, not obviously, but with a hidden pressure, they are using the power of mind to create matter.
I also didn't quite get that word at first, and I was reflecting on it, and the image that came was almost like a birth contraction.
Yes. Pressure. Yes. Yeah. And it's, of course, helping to make things more dense. When we are climbing up the stair, the first thing we see in front of us, the first thing when we come up these 3 levels and we come onto these wide terrains, in front of us there are these beings. Yes.
To be able to work on the mat, do they have to have a physical body?
No.
They can use the human being, or they directly work on the mat?
We can think of the process of creation as a process, and this is how it's described in the Life Divine, as a a successive manifestation of levels which are in a way less and less pure spirit, more and more something denser. No? And that process continues by many levels. Mother shows 13 levels until we come to what we would consider matter, gross matter. So each level, it is described, if we want to go back and look at this process more closely, we can have a look at the end of Book 1, Canto 5. That's on page 88 it starts. This is what King Aswapati is seeing. What he's shown is a kind of ladder, ascending and descending between life's poles. The serried kingdoms of the graded law, plunged from the everlasting into time, and then glad of a glory of multitudinous mind, and rich with life's adventure and delight, and packed with the beauty of matter, shapes, and hues, climbed back from time into undying self, up a golden ladder, carrying the soul. This is how he first sees it, this golden ladder where the soul can move up and down. In the next canto, he sees it more concretely as this stair of worlds. But in any case, the soul can move either up or down. And he says, this golden ladder, it connects with diamond threads the spirit's extremes, the highest level and the lowest level. Pure, unmanifest spirit and gross matter, unconscious matter, or even pre-matter, if you like. In this drop downwards from consciousness to consciousness, each level leaned on the occult inconscience power, the fountain of its needed ignorance, Archmason of the limits by which it lives. So each of the levels is a little bit more unconscious and limited than the one above it. And on the upward journey, in this soar from consciousness to consciousness, each of those levels is lifting its highest tops to the one from above it, from which it came, which is the origin of all that it had ever been and home of all that it could still become. So he likens it to a ladder, and then he likens it to an organ with many notes, and that there's a scale running up and down. So we are, at the moment, we are following Aswapati as he moves up. So we're seeing each of the levels as we go higher. We're seeing them from the level below. We're not starting at the top. We've started at the bottom. We started from matter, subtle, physical, then the life levels. Now we're into the mind levels. There's further to go. Yes? An archmason. A mason is somebody who makes things out of bricks and mortar or out of stone. An archmason is a master mason. He's the archmasons built the cathedrals. It's nothing to do with art. It's more like archbishop. It's the top one. Yeah, he's the master mason. Of course, he can make arches too. Shall we go back to page 266? So we are seeing almost the lowest level of this kingdoms and Godheads of the greater mind. We've seen these first introductory steps, like the entrance to that world, and now we're seeing the first level of creators there, the masters of things actual. They're concerned with the way things are in the material world. So there's a nice description of them. Who's going to read? Are you read, Patty? Kim.
Archmasons of the eternal Thaumaturge, Moulders and measurers of fragmented space, they have made their plan of the concealed and known a dwelling house for the invisible King. Obeying the Eternal's deep command, they have built in the material front of things this wide world kindergarten of young souls, where the infant spirit learns through mind and sense to read the letters of the cosmic spirit and study the body of the cosmic self and search for the secret meaning of the whole.
Let's pause there, Kim. Right? This is their task. They've been taught to make worlds, the mystic method of creating worlds. So they're Archmasons, Moulders and measurers of fragmented space. Fragmented space, emptiness, no? They've made their plan for the material world, their plan of the concealed and known, which will be a dwelling house for the invisible king, for the soul. They are not doing this just out of their own whim. They are obeying the Eternal's deep command. A command has been given. So what their task is to build in the material front of things, the world of appearances, this wide world kindergarten of young souls that we are living in. Here we are, all we young souls in our kindergarten, where the infant spirit learns through mind and sense to read the letters of the cosmic script, what is written in the universe, or the language of the universe, and study the body of the cosmic self. This material universe is the body of the cosmic self, and we have to search for the secret meaning of the whole. That's their task.
And this unpronounceable word, Thaumaturge.
Thaumaturge. A thaumaturge is somebody who works miracles. So their commander is a magician, an enchanter, a thaumaturge. He works miracles, and he uses mind to do that. Sorry?
Is it English word?
It's originally a Greek word, I think.
Can you say that again?
Thaumaturge. Thaumaturge.
You don't use it every day, have you?
But it comes several times in the poem.
Does it mean actually that the human being is being built or starts from matter?
Yes.
That means when it comes down,
Yes.
there's no human being. It goes down to matter, and then...
Yes, that's what happens, no? Yeah. But he describes it so beautifully in Canto 1 of Book 2, how it's actually the sacrifice of the Supreme Divine Mother. She's the one who comes down and creates all these levels all the way. And when we come down to earth, it's like a residue, but it's packed full of the potentiality of all those other worlds. No? So matter looks unconscious, but it has within it the possibility of releasing and manifesting everything else. Yes, Luba?
Islam, they have built in the material world of things. And we know that Shraddhavan says that mother is the creators of everything. So these young girls, they also co-workers.
Yeah, they are the builders. Yeah. Yes.
Here when they say this wide world kindergarten of young souls, infant spirit learns through mind and sense. Right? So to read the letters of the cosmic spirit. So this learning and what is there in Book 1, Canto 5, where they say the dusk room with its dark internal stair.
Yes.
The infant soul in a small nursery school.
Yes.
Big objects meant for a lesson hardly learned, outdoors early time. So isn't this learning the same?
It's the same thing, but there has to be first this manifestation of this house with this dusk internal room, no? Means the material world. And that's the world that Aswapati perceives around him, and that's the world he sees must change. That the way it is, as he experiences it there, with all his secret knowledge, by that time he's received the secret knowledge, he sees the possibility that this material world can become something completely different. It can become, read the next lines, what must happen to it.
In this Book 1?
Yes.
So in the Book 1
he speaks about this internal stare, and he tells what must happen.
The infant soul in a small nursery school, with objects meant for a lesson hardly learned, outgrew its early grammar of intellect and its limitation of Earth's nature's art, its earthly dialect to God language change. in living symbols, study reality.
Yes, that's what must happen. As we grow in consciousness, that's what must happen. And the material world, it will no longer be a nursery school for infant souls. It'll be a divine world for supramental beings. And that's Asvapati's mission then. When he sees that possibility, then he commits himself that that's what he wants to happen and to make it, to help it happen.
So in this book, when he says this wide world kindergarten of young souls, this learning is at a higher level than what was at book one?
No, I think it's where the level we are. It's the material level. And here we are, all we young souls. And of course we have to learn, we have been learning for several thousand years about the material universe that we're in, and we have to learn much more. Not just this, not only about the material world. We have to learn a new language, he says. We've been speaking in this earthly dialect. We have to learn a whole new language. Yeah? Yes, yes.
I understood that you said that matter has the potentiality for consciousness.
Yes.
Does that mean that matter has consciousness?
Consciousness is potential in matter. And I'm very happy that the physicists have suddenly woken up to this. No? First of all, they woke up to the realization that the fact that we have living matter in our world means that even according to their scheme of things, the potentiality for life must have been there right from the very beginning, from the Big Bang. So it's only a tiny little step further to say that, oh, actually life is in a way conscious. That means that the potentiality for consciousness must have been coded into our universe from the very beginning. And it's gradually revealing itself. We seem to have reached, what seems to have happened with the manifestation of the human race, with the capacity for some kind of mind, self-observation, not only world observation, self-observation, that we have a certain limited capacity to make choices. And so we can choose to participate in this evolutionary process. That's a significant step forward. Before the development of mind, it was nature who was doing all the work, and it took a long time. But what Sri Aurobindo is telling us is now all you people are here. Nature is waiting for you to take the lead and make things change much more rapidly. And why aren't you doing it? Why are you going around and around in circles and not doing it? The whole universe is waiting for you to do this. Yes, Catherine?
Satyan's book, Mind and Cells, talks about, encapsulates some of Mother's work. This is really what she was doing and what she was trying to communicate to all of us, that actually there is cellular consciousness, and matter is conscious on a cellular level, and it wants to collaborate. It wants to collaborate. So it's our mental formation that prevents us from working fully with that collaborative spirit that is there.
Right.
We're fixed in that.
Yes. Habit. Yes.
I want to share one of the experience I had last week with Mother Nature. Last year we planted creepers along the Sanchit, one facade, 5-story building, last October, and I happened to be there last week, and I saw the entire wall was covered by Victory, the creeper called Victory. So I sent a photo to Louis Cohen, the project photo, look what a wonder happened. And then Louis replied very beautifully, human nature is difficult to deal with, but Mother Nature is so responsive to our wishes.
And it's one of the things that Mother has remarked on in the very early days of Auroville, that the very ground here is responsive. And so we have to live up to that responsiveness. Become as responsive as the hibiscus, she said. They are so receptive. We are less receptive. But Sri Aurobindo also says that's because of the nature of our substance, that the matter tends to be inert and unconscious. there is consciousness latent in it. But so that's why this invocation of the higher forces into the body for transformation is so important. And that will be the next big step forward, when it's not just the mind and the aspiration and the soul, but when the material substance is aspiring and responding. And it's difficult for us to believe in it because of our habits of thought. But people who are connected with healing, they're quite familiar with this, that how the body can respond. You wanted to say something?
Isn't it the great gap between thinking of consciousness and
being conscious? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's not only bridges, but we
have to become it.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Could you say that DNA is the encoding of the potentiality, and that in a sense, as the seed becomes or the acorn becomes the oak tree, or the sperm becomes the human, that's the ascent.
Yes.
But the subtle descent is not seen, because at some point the mind has to descend into that evolving or materializing matter. Does that make sense?
I mean, the first part of what you said made perfect sense to me. But I think the coding has been done already. From the very beginning, the first word of creation, the idea, the creative idea, was like the seed. And from that seed, well, all this has grown. But it's only just a beginning. Savitri says this. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to be revealed.
We know that sometimes the soul doesn't actually inhabit
the body immediately.
For a few years. And one wonders at what point does the mind begin to occupy.
But now you're talking about individual development. There it varies because of circumstances, even hereditary, whatever it is. But the soul within the cosmos, the universal soul, is working everywhere that it finds a possibility to work. It's also very, very beautifully described how it pushes itself out in little jets here and there, wherever there's an opening or a possibility. So that's been happening in nature for eons to bring us to this level. Now we have the possibility of consciously collaborating. She's been doing her work. She wants us to take it up and participate more consciously. So, of course, mind is a very important factor in that. But I think that this particular canto is more concerned with the other process. He's again going to show us 3 levels, and we start at the bottom with these world times enjoyers. And then there's another level of people who are not so much masons as engineers, technicians. And then there's a third lot who are the ones who have conceived the project in the first place. Maybe we can call them the architects. Yeah. And then he describes their shortcomings. And Aswapati has to go to the next levels to see how all this has come about.
And science has just discovered now that even what seems inert is full of moving and living atoms.
Yeah, everything's moving. And the Lord is inhabiting everything in this moving universe. Everything that moves in this moving universe. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yakincha jagatyam jagat. Everything that moves in this moving universe. And knowing this, knowing that the Lord is inhabiting all this, we should enjoy it for Him, and we shouldn't want anything that anybody else has got, because it's all His. And living in this way, we should wish to live for 100 years, because karma, what we fear, the consequences of our action, if we live like this, there's no such thing. Doesn't cling to anybody, because He's the one who's living everything. Yes, Kim?
Shraddhavan, do you know if Sri Aurobindo had contact with Chandra Bose, that one who started?
I don't know whether... he certainly knew about his work. He refers to it several times. Yes. So he was an amazing Bengali scientist who showed that even in metals there are reactions. So we talk about Jagdish Chandra Bose, long dead. But Sri Aurobindo definitely, I don't know whether they ever met, but he knew about his work and commented on it very positively. Yeah.
It was the first time to show that even steel and plants.
But even metals. Yeah. You wanted to ask something? They didn't meet, no. I don't know how interested Sri Aurobindo was in Rudolf Steiner. Mother knew about his work and made some comments on it. Yeah. Now, where are we? Back to the text. So, line 233. Catherine, you'll read? Yeah, sorry.
To all that spirit conceives, they give a mold, persuading nature into visible moods. They lend a finite shape to infinite things, each power that leaps from the unmanifest, leaving the largeness of the eternal's peace. They seized and held by their precision eye and made a figurante in the cosmic dance. Its free caprice they bound by rhythmic laws and compelled to accept its posture and its line in the wizardry of an ordered universe. The all-containing was contained in form. Oneness was carved into units measurable. The limitless built into a cosmic sum. Unending space was beaten into a curve. Invisible time into small minutes cut. The infinitesimal masked to keep secure. The mystery of the formless cast into form.
Thank you. So that's why they're formateurs. They give form.
The formateurs or the masons?
Sorry?
The masons are doing.
Yes, but I think Mother used the French word for these people, these beings. She called them formateurs in occultism. They referred to it like that. So we have this word precision here. Precision. Would you like to look up Rand Hicks, what he has to say about that?
Rigidly strict or precise in observing a set of rules. Rigidly strict or precise in observing a set of rules. Precision.
You've got precision.
Precision.
Yes. Yeah, so we're used to the word precision. That's when we do everything very precisely. So this is an adjective, precision. Precision eye of these people very precisely puts things into their place.
Rigidly strict.
They seized and held by their precision eye, with their eye which has the quality of preciseness, and they give each thing its place, make it a figurant, a dancer in the cosmic dance, with each one in its exactly right place. So the free caprice of the infinite and the eternal's peace, they bound them by rhythmic laws. Sri Aurobindo continually repeats in Savitri the importance of rhythm, the many different rhythms. So they're rhythmic laws, and each thing is compelled to accept its posture, its particular position, and its line in the wizardry of an ordered universe. All the freedom of the infinite, the eternal, the unmanifest, somehow gets compelled into form. The all-containing was contained in form. Oneness was carved into units, measurable. The limitless was built into a cosmic sum, the whole of a universe. Unending space, like coppersmiths, they are beating it into a curve. They're cutting indivisible time into small minutes and seconds and hours. And when they've done all this and divided everything up into tiny units, they mass together all those infinitesimal subatomic particles to to keep secure, to keep it firm and fixed. These things are not going to melt away. This mystery of the formless cast into form. They're the ones who are doing this miracle. But it is, somehow we think of it in terms of a curve, don't we? That space is curved. How has it come about? They've done it by their hid stress of mind. Brian, would you read?
Invincibly the craft devised for use, the magic of sequence number and sign spell. Design's miraculous potency was caught, laden with beauty and significance, and by the determining mandate of their gaze, figure and quality equating joined in an inextricable identity. On each event, they stamped its curve of law, and its trust and charge of burdened circumstance, a free and divine instant no more. At each moment, will or adventure of the soul, it lengthened a fate-bound, mysterious chain, a line foreseen of an immutable plan. One step more in necessity's long march. Turn was set for every eager power, restraining its will to monopolize the world. A groove of bronze prescribed for force and act, and shown to each moment its appointed place, or willed inalterably in the spiral, huge, time loop, fugitive from eternity.
Mother speaks of a level of consciousness where none of these determinations apply anymore, where everything is a free and divine incident without reason or rhyme or justification. It just is some spontaneous movement. But when they're working on this manifestation, they change that. On each event, these powers of man stamp their curves of law. It will happen like this. It's trust and charge of burdened consequence. Everything that happens will have an effect. Now, each event lengthens out a fate-bound, mysterious chain where each link determines the next one, a line foreseen of an immutable plan. One step more in necessity's long march. It has to be like that because each thing is determined.
Fibonacci spiral and how mathematics is intricately involved in sacred design.
Yes, and why do we call it sacred design? Because it has certain effects.
Mandalas.
Yes?
This brought to my mind mandalas.
Yes, yeah. Mandalas are representations of the universe, aren't they? Yeah.
No, they also have power.
A power, yes.
I didn't believe before, but Shraddhavan, is it these are the two messages here? First, the possibility of creation, and in the second part, the limit.
Yes, of course, we can say that the creation is done by limitation. That's what we read, no? Yeah. That each of these levels represents an acceptance of increased unconsciousness and increased limitation as we come down. But all that is necessary to create this house for the Lord and for the infant soul to grow in and learn in. You wanted to say something?
This Ledson chain can sound like what we call today blockchain.
The what?
The blockchain, as you call today technical terms.
I don't know, but anyway, it.
We cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Please, everybody, speak very loudly.
Today we talk about, I think it's the right word, but I'm not sure, this blockchain. Blockchain. Where everything is linked together.
Yes.
So everybody.
Yes, nothing can change. It's each step determines the next one. Yes.
No, I think it means that you
you cannot cheat, for example, because when you do something, then it is linked everywhere.
Yes.
So if you want to cheat, then everybody will see it.
Oh.
They call it, I think, blockchain.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this phrase. Yes.
So I was wondering whether this lengthened mysterious chain, if it is something similar.
I think it's the idea that whatever little event happens, it has an infinite chain of consequences.
Yes.
And each one of them produces new consequences. So there's no end to it. It's a lengthening chain. It's getting longer and longer and longer. Yeah, becoming longer.
It's a distributed ledger. So it's basically a financial ledger.
Yes.
But it's a distributed ledger. So
Yeah.
if we do transactions,
Yes.
whatever I do with you, there are 10 more people in that chain of blocks who see that transaction. So there is no way I can manipulate my records, right? So there is an audit at every step. But this is something different.
This is something different.
This is not a financial ledger. This is a...
This is what we call karma, no?
Yeah. This is concept.
But this, you see, each moment fits in its appointed place, which has been forewilled inevitably. This talks about, in a way, predestination, no? Inalterably, in this spiral, huge time loop, fugitive from eternity. It's running away from eternity. But perhaps it will come back to eternity at the end. A spiral, huge time loop. The word loop suggests that it gets closed at some point. No? Not, yes?
I mean, something like the two lines 255 and 256.
Yes, yes. Figure, I think, means shape and quality. These are two things that are equally important. No? They determine each other. Perhaps physics has something to say about this also. But he's also speaking about design, the miraculous power of design. Can you tell us something about that, Helmut? Louder.
Design has an effect on people, and that gives architects a certain responsibility. Shapes what we believe.
I was thinking about the carbon ring. It's a form, no? That had it's not just a form, it had an unexpected power.
What is the carbon ring?
The carbon ring, it's a molecular structure, always connected with the carbon atom, which I think has a certain geometry, which is based on 6.
So that geometry makes life possible.
Yes.
That particular geometry. And there's a wonderful story about the scientist who discovered it. No, Kekulé. He.
What was his name?
Yes, he had a dream.
He was puzzling over this thing about the formation of the carbon atom because it seemed to be something so important. And it came to him in a dream, this ring formation of 6.
I know that's
yeah.
France and Vienna, they have a hexagonal shape.
What was that?
The trams in Vienna, where he lived, have an hexagonal shape. Yeah. A long hexagon.
An elongated hexagon.
British version is the dream.
Perhaps it was a combination of both. Yeah. Yes, Catherine.
I think the line before also informs me.
Yes.
And by the determining mandate of their gaze,
Yes.
there is intention
Yes.
here.
Yes.
And that is partly what determines
How figure and quality get connected. Yes.
what the identity
Shall be.
Bhavan,
Yes.
I want to tell something. One day afternoon, coming in my home, some great politician from France.
and he visited Savitri Bhavan. And when he come there, he said, my God, who is building this house, divine house? Tell me like that, pure line, pure finishing, is incredible. I am incredible happy. He come with Ramachandra, Indian man from Nepal. And also coming some giant.
Yes, there were a lot of giants here yesterday.
It's incredible. Also, he tells the divine house, this building, this temple. I tell you, you tell about the divine house, but the politician, French politician, is incredible. He show every details in the matter. Tell who is building this, he puts spirit in the matter. I tell yes. What I tell I don't discuss about architecture, but I am incredible happy. I tell you, this day is marvelous day.
This carbon ring is hexagonal in shape,
I believe an elongated hexagon.
In Mother, we have 4 symbols, and Maheshwari symbol is 6-sided. 6-sided, that's what you said?
Yeah, 6-sided.
That symbol was given by Mother, the triangle, square, hexagonal. So
these were for the 4 zones, I think, for the zones.
Yeah.
So, but I would have to look in Huta's book to say exactly how the forms were supposed to relate to the purpose of the zones, the industrial zone, the residential zone, cultural zone, and international.
And then the symbols are there. Mahakali has got a square and Maheshwari.
Where does she have a square?
As you enter into the staircase,
yeah. Oh, Roger has put them there. I see. Yeah. So yes, it was on. Mother has said something about these directions and the forms. Yeah. Yeah.
Shraddhavan, I have a question about the line. A term was set for every eager power.
A term means a limit.
I find it really positive because it sort of says the teaching that for all of us, the pressures offered, this place in the world, we don't have to do the whole job. We have to play our part. But I'm wondering with the Sri Aurobindo meaning as a universal law or just in this level?
It's here in the cosmos. There's a place for everything, but everything has to be in its place. So nothing, it says, a term was set for every eager power, restraining its will to monopolize the world. It's natural for each power to wish to express itself and expand itself as much as it can, but a limit is set by these people. And they even, it says, run on grooves of bronze. You know, grooves like we used to have on gramophone records. Tracks prescribed for force and act was prescribed, was set, was prescribed. So that everything is shown at each moment its appointed place, which has been forewilled, inalterably, strictly predestined in the spiral, huge time loop.
I don't understand what is this time loop.
What?
I still cannot understand what is this time loop.
Can I say something? It relates to the last line of 266. Unending space was easy to occur. Einstein has said space is bent into time. Einstein said space is bent into time.
We don't know what it means, but it's a curve, a time loop. And then he connects it with necessity, no? One step more. Fugitive means running away. So time is running away from eternity. But it will inevitably come back, I think. Because a term is set.
The fugitive because it came from eternity into time, right?
It's, yeah, but when it comes into time, it has to express itself in time. So it runs away from eternity.
That's the great miracle. That's the great miracle.
I'm going to read the next few lines and then we should think about stopping. Inevitable, their thoughts, like links of fate, imposed on the leap and lightning race of mind, and on the frail, fortuitous flux of life, and on the liberty of atomic things, immutable cause and adamant consequence. Idea gave up the plastic infinity to which it was born, and now traced out instead small separate steps of chain work in a plot, immortal once, now tied to birth and end, torn from its immediacy of errorless sight. Knowledge was rebuilt from cells of inference into a fixed body, flask and perishable. Thus bound, it grew, but could not last, and broke, and to a new thinking's body left its place, a cage for the infinite's great-eyed seraphim thought was closed with a crisscross of world laws for bars, and hedged into a curt horizon's art, the irised vision of the ineffable. A timeless spirit was made the slave of the hours. The unbound was cast into a prison of birth, to make a world that mind could grasp and rule, on an earth which looked towards 1,000 suns, that the created might grow nature's lord, and matter's depths be illumined with a soul. They tied to date and norm and finite scope the million mysteried movement of the one.